Well, let's go straight to our breaking news this afternoon. And Derek Draper, the husband of ITV presenter Kate Garraway, has sadly died at age 56. Garraway confirmed his death in an Instagram post this morning in which she wrote, "As some of you may know, he has been critically ill following a cardiac arrest in early December, which, because of the damage inflicted by COVID in March 2020, led to further complications."
Derek Draper fell seriously ill with COVID-19 in March 2020, which caused long-lasting damage to his organs and led to him requiring daily care. In 2021, Kate Garraway won a National Television Award for her documentary Finding Derek, about her family's experience in managing her husband's condition.
Well, joining us now from outside the television centre is TalkTV correspondent Oliver-Whitfield-Miocic. Oliver, remind us all of Derek Draper. He suffered for a very long time.
Yes, that's right, Alex. In some respects, he became the face of long COVID in the United Kingdom, especially because Kate Garraway, by using her TV stardom, was able to really shine a spotlight on the battle that her and her family, but not only her family, that families right across the United Kingdom had gone through in the battle of long COVID. It was particularly acute for Derek Draper. He caught COVID in March 2020. He was then put into an induced coma in April of that year, and he wasn't brought out of that coma until October. He stayed in hospital for another 6 months before he was then released, but then it was spells in and out of hospital. Revealing the sad news that her husband had died, Kate Garraway took to Instagram where she said, "I'm sad to have to tell you all that my darling husband Derek has passed away. As some of you may know, he has been critically ill following a cardiac arrest in early December, which, because of the damage inflicted by COVID in March 2020, led to further complications. Derek was surrounded by his family in his final days, and I was by his side holding his hand throughout the last long hours when he passed." Garraway then thanked the medical teams, which she says fought hard to save him and to make his final moments as comfortable and dignified as possible. And she ended by saying, "Rest gently and peacefully now, Derek, my love. I was so lucky to have you in my life." Now, Kevin Ligo, who's the head of entertainment for ITV, has said that all of the staff who've worked alongside Kate, but also the wider staff at ITV, are shocked by the news of Derek's passing. There's been tributes paid by Kate's co-stars, that's Charlotte Hawkins, the likes of Alison Hammond, as well as Ben Shepherd. There's been tributes as well from celebrity circles. Sir Elton John has paid his tribute. But it wasn't just the entertainment world through Kate Garraway that Derek was known for. He was also known within political circles as well as a political strategist for Labour. And so we've seen Alistair Campbell, the former head of press at the Number 10 during the Tony Blair years, tweeting, "I'm very sad to hear about Derek Draper. He was a huge character, a giver, not a taker, and had so much more to give before COVID took its toll." Now, Kate Garraway says that she will have more to say about Derek Draper, his life and his passing in due course. At the moment, though, she's focusing on herself and on her family. Her and Derek had children together, but all of her forthcoming TV and radio appearances have now been cancelled as her and the family mourn the loss of a husband and a father, somebody who was known, as we said, not only in the entertainment world, but in the political world too.
Thank you very much, Ollie. That's Oliver-Whitfield-Miocic, TalkTV's intrepid reporter. Now let's speak to broadcaster and former colleague of Kate Garraway, Penny Smith. Good afternoon, Penny. You know, I don't say this lightly. You knew Kate well. I knew her, you know, professionally over quite a few years, and you will not. As I say, this is not a light thing to say in the nest of vipers that is television and showbiz. You will not find a single person to say a nasty word about Kate Garraway, a genuinely lovely woman, and I can't think of anyone who deserved this horror less than her.
Less, exactly that. Yes, it's and 56 is no great age. I mean, that's the other thing. But I remember remember right back when Kate first met Derek, introduced through a mutual friend of ours called Gloria De Piero, who was our political editor at the time at GMTV. And I remember she was introduced to him and went out on a date with him and came back to the studio the next day and was just talking about how, she'd met this bloke and he was great and all the rest of it. And then they started going steady, as I suppose we'd call it. And before long, she was married with a baby on the way. And in fact, there were a little gang of us, Claire Nazir, me, Gloria, I think that was it. And we had a kind of celebratory dinner when Darcy was born. It was her first time after she gave birth. And it was just, she was so thrilled and chuffed and excited. This was the man for her, the man that was going to be with her for the rest of her life. And as you say, the awful thing is that at 56 is no age at all, particularly not now. And I remember when he got ill and she was desperate for help, and we were all trying to help. I mean, we all sent messages saying, is there anything we can do? Is there anybody we kind of rallied around? We tried to find people who might be able to help. And it was just a desperate time. And of course, that kind of bittersweet moment of him finally coming home and having to have her whole life turned upside down to make sure that Derek felt part of the family.
Kate has shown tremendous strength throughout all of this, continuing to work, indeed receiving an award for her documentary, Finding Derek, which I think was very important, wasn't it, in reminding the nation of what a lot of people did lose during COVID, which was loved ones, some immediately due to fatalities and others as a result of long and drawn-out illnesses. And I think it really helped keep the nation's focus and the nation's empathy with those who really did suffer during the pandemic.
Exactly that. Exactly. And I think it also showed that it was that COVID, it was all of us. We were all involved, whether it was long COVID, whether it was people, as you said, who died, or essentially, I mean, I want to use the word injured, because actually there are people who haven't really properly recovered. I mean, Derek, as we know, it was touch and go for such a long time before he managed to go home, and was made, as we know from Finding Derek, made kind of the centre of the house, if you like. He was made the centre of the family, so that he could participate, even if it wasn't to a huge degree. But you're right; it was a way of showing to the whole nation. It affects everybody, and some people it has affected in a pretty much catastrophic way. I mean, having to actually change everything to make sure that the person you love is still there and still such a loved part of the family.
We're just looking at footage of Derek, obviously suffering in the depths of his condition, and it's tragic to see him like that because, before his downfall, as it were, due to COVID, he was a force of nature too. Don't forget, this guy was an extremely influential political advisor, a kind of legend at Westminster, who just decided after meeting Kate, I've had enough of this, I think I'll have a go at psychotherapy, became very successful at that. Meanwhile, as you say, Penny, the romance developed. They had 2 children living very happily in North London, a kind of power couple, if you like, very happy family. Yeah. And what a tragedy that this should have happened to them. And what I think is so impressive, and this is what I'd like you to talk about, is the way Kate handled this. She never complained. She continued her extremely high-profile, pressurised career while spending every spare minute looking after her husband and tending to her children. I don't want to overdo this, but she's some kind of superwoman, isn't she?
Well, she is, because the thing about Kate that is that anybody who knows Kate quite well knows is that she can be quite chaotic. I mean, she's a really good journalist and she always turned up on time. I'm not saying that. But, if you went round, you'd look at it and go, how on earth is this woman managing to spin so many plates? And to have this thrown at her on the top of everything else is quite remarkable. I mean, I saw her a few weeks ago. I was at an event, and she was handing out she was being given an award, and we talked. I suppose we talked elliptically about what was going on, because obviously that is not necessarily the place that people want to talk about how difficult life has been for, and of course not just for her. She's having to try and keep upbeat for Darcy and Billy. So she's trying to kind of make a terrible situation just a little bit better for their children, whilst also, of course, managing expectations. And we talked, as I said, we talked elliptically about it, and I just kind of went, well done for keeping all the plates spinning. And she sort of just went, it's just, I mean, you just do it, don't you? That's what she said, and that was the point, is that she got on with it. She didn't do that kind of woe is me, although I'm sure she had a lot of woe is me moments, but she just
well, tributes have been coming in for the late Derek Draper. He was, of course, a Labour Party strategist, and two former Prime Ministers, both Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, have paid their respects.
And this is from Tony Blair. I'm so sad to hear the news about Derek. He was a tough, sometimes ruthless political operative, a brilliant advisor, and someone you always wanted on your side. But underneath that tough exterior, he was a loving, kind, generous and good-natured man you wanted as a friend. That's from Tony Blair. And we have one now, I think, from Gordon Brown. So sad after such a brave struggle that Derek Draper has lost his life as a result of COVID. I will remember him as a brilliant, creative and multi-talented, and our thoughts are with Kate, Darcy and Billy. R.I.P. Derek. By the way, heartbreak scenes. Kate posted on Instagram that he died while she was holding his hand. And I tried to read out her sign-off on her Instagram post earlier, and almost broke up, so I'm not going to do it again. But I urge you to go to Instagram and have a look at what Kate posted. It will break you. It will break your heart. Carry on, Alex.
Well, today we're joined in the studio by former government advisor James Price. James, I mean, we didn't really know anything unless you worked in politics about Derek Draper, but the nation has really come to know him as a result of what he went through and what that family's been through.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's something similar in a way to when we were going through COVID, and that message from Her Majesty the Queen, that again, it's one of those little stories that sort of brought everybody together. Just watching some of that and some of the tributes reminds me of what the Queen said. Grief is the price we pay for love, and that came through there from all those sorts of testimonies and things as well. And it shows that the legacy of COVID is still not over yet.
I think we'll go into this a bit more later, but there is an element here that there's a merciful release here. As I say, I remember Derek in his pomp. I mean, he wasn't entirely universally loved in Westminster. I mean, he was a hard-nosed operator and had a bit of a Mandelson reputation. But that, when you got together with him over a drink, he was a good guy, he was surrounded by his family when he died. And as I say, I think that Kate, having fought this long battle with him, 3-year battle, to see him so reduced, I think there will be an element of merciful release here.
Yeah, I think so. And it makes people feel guilty for almost thinking about those sorts of things in that way. But I think you're right. And I think that you mentioned he was a Labour guy. These sorts of things tend to get put into perspective, don't they? That for the vast majority of any of us working in and around politics, that everybody wants the best for the country, and these sort of stories put it together, put into perspective those sort of petty squabbles.
Absolutely. Well, R.I.P. Derek Draper, and our thoughts, of course, are with Kate Garraway, and we will be returning to this story later in the show with more tributes.